Okay, let's merge the request, whatever we have. So he created. Okay. So let's merge this one also. Okay. So two merged. Let's start now. Second. Okay. Let me create a new branch for today and then we'll start. Okay. Today, so we did the navigation and navigation practice last time. Let's try to introduce the Redux and then pass server and go from there. Yesterday I shared the videos how to install the pass server, but that pass server has to run on the server, not on your local machine, because when you give some URL, yeah, you have to, so you have to give some public URL. So for example, uh, I created, this is my dedicated domain, dedicated hosting, and where I am running, you see, I am running the teaching as a pass server on the server, and this can be accessed. I'll show you how this can be accessed. This is my dedicated server, and this can be accessed with pass server.us 1336. One second, I'll be back. Okay, so that font was small in the server, and we don't go into much into the server in detail. So this is the URL I use. This is only for the demo purpose. Okay, don't for learning point of view, you can use this my server, but this can go down anytime. So don't make application, you know, for production purpose. You can just make for teaching, learning purpose, and then because I stop this server anytime. It's not for everyone's use, right? You can buy your own dedicated server and then you can install the PaaS server. So once we install the PaaS, we need this PaaS server. Generally, when we were practicing React, we were okay with the local, but with mobile, since mobile is not tied to your local host, so it may not work with the local host. So you need PaaS server on some server. Okay, so let's start with the Redux one and then we'll go with the PaaS server. Okay, so we have the Redux mod. I'll install the I already installed the project here few days back, and we will install the Redux in this one. So I have done already Redux a lot of time when I was showing the React part, but we'll do it again. And this Redux will be I will be using this Redux in all our application. So this is very important. We should install Redux in every project. So first thing I will install, I'll go to the Redux project and I'll install this Redux, React Redux and Redux Thunk. These three things we need to install for our Redux application. So I'll give you in the Telegram also and also in this chat. And you can also do simultaneously. So go to your Redux project and just install this one. What we install? Redux, React Redux and Redux things. Nowadays, so Redux team also want us to use the Redux toolkit. Though I'm not very good fan of Redux toolkit because a lot of things I do customized in my way and those are not possible in Redux toolkit. Redux toolkit is only one way as they wanted. And they introduced Redux toolkit for the beginners and we are doing Redux since very long. So we have our own way of doing the Redux. But then also I'll install the Redux toolkit. So this to install the Redux toolkit we have to use Redux add Redux.js toolkit. So just install this also. So let me create a README file for today. This I don't remember which lesson we are doing. Let's try to put date. Okay, let's create this one. So I installed the Redux toolkit, and another thing which I installed is Redux. These two things we installed it. Now we'll try to configure the Redux in our application. So first thing is I will create a source folder inside my Redux folder, Redux project. That will be source src. Inside the source folder, I will create a new folder called as Redux. Okay, let me know when you're done with this one. These two steps. We'll go further. Are you done with these two steps? Okay, done. So now what we have to create, we have to create the source folder and then source Redux folder. And we have one app.js file, and then we will create also source home.js file. And inside the Redux, we will be creating few more files. Inside the Redux, I will create few more files. I'm just putting the name of the files and then we'll build. So what files we'll put in the Redux? One will be the store.js. Another will be root reducer.js. And another will be some, I will create some default action, reducer and constant file. So that I will do in the sites folder. I'll create a sites folder and then I'll create sites action.js file, sites reducer.js file, sites constants.js file. So these three files are used in any of the mechanism or functionality we build it. This is my demo project. I just created sites folder and inside I created three files. But let's say tomorrow you are working with a chat application, you can create a chat folder and then chat action.js, chat reducer.js, and chat constants.js. Like that, you can create multiple folder with the multiple files. So one of the sample we'll create is the sites one, but whatever module you create for your website or for your app, you can create multiple folder and multiple action and reducer. And all these reducers which we have, I will call in the root reducer. So I can call site reducer, I will call chat reducer inside my root reducer. So let's create the folder first and then we will start from there. First file I will create in the sources home.js. And then in the Redux, I will create a new file, store.js. And then I'll create a new file, root reducer.js. Then in the Redux, I will create a new folder. I will name it as sites. So depend on my number of functionalities, I will create more and more folders. Right now here I want only one functionality, so I'll creating only one folder. And inside that, three files will be created, called as sites action.js, sites reducer.js, and next is sites constants.js. So three files. So just create all these files and then we'll start from there. Okay, so just create home, then under Redux, store.js, root reducer.js, site action, site reducer, site constant. We'll not create the chat part because we are not building the chat. We are only working with some demo thing to see how the Redux works. Let me know when you're done creating these folders. If you don't do along with me, then you will, maybe you don't get time later and then a lot of things you will miss. So try to do things along with me. That will help you in the long run. Okay, now we are done with the creating the files and folder. Let's start building it. So first of the file is a store.js. And before that, even root reducer, let's go to write something in the root reducer. Okay, so in the root reducer, we will do same thing what we did in our React project. We'll import something from Redux, and that is called as combine reducers. So this is the one we have to call, and then we have to call all the reducers which we have. Right now we have only one reducer, that is site reducer, so we will call only one. But if my site has 5 reducer, 6 reducer, I will call all 6 reducer here. So let's import all the reducers which we need in our application. Import sites reducer from sites and the sites reducer. So right now we don't have anything in the sites reducer, so definitely things will not work unless we put something in the sites reducer. But something will put in site reducer now, and so it will work fine. Now I'll create one variable called as root reducer, and I will combine all the reducer. Right now I have only one reducer, but I have to combine all the reducer here. So I will call combine reducers, and I will create an object. In the object I have to put key and value. Let's say key is this and value is also this one. And then I'll export this root reducer. Export default root reducer. Now since key and value are same, we can avoid the value and we can keep only the key. So when I put only key, it actually means that key is equal to value. Since this is an object, we should have key and value, but if both key and value are same letters, we can delete the value and it is assumed that key and value are same. So this one is my root reducer. If I have more reducers, I will add more here, but this is, since I have only one reducer, I will be using one reducer. Just add this in your root reducer. Let me know when it's done. So what is the purpose of combining reducers? We are combining reducers so that we can use multiple reducers. Right now we have one reducer. In our real app we may have 4 or 5. We have to combine it so that we can take use of all the reducers. Otherwise only we can use one reducer. That may restrict our scope, so we have to combine the reducers. Okay, I hope you have completed the root reducers. Let's go to the store.js now. So in the store.js, previously I was not using toolkit, so the configuration was little different. Now let's say if I use something like this, previously I was using like this: create store, apply module, compose from Redux. So you will see this create reducer is deprecated, and it's saying that use the Redux toolkit for that one. So that's the reason we will not use this part. Instead, we will use the uh, Redux toolkit, but the functionality will be same what we were doing before. So I will import from Redux toolkit. What I will be importing, configure store, and then I will be using thunk for my project. So I will import thunk from React Redux, and then I will also import root reducer from my root reducer file. So all these three things have to be imported. Now I will create one variable called a store, which is nothing but configure store, and here I have to pass the object. What will be the key value pair of the object? First key value pair is the reducer. Which reducer I will be using? So the reducer is the root reducer, which I will be using this root reducer. And then I will also will be using the middleware. Right now I am using only one middleware, but in future we may add more middleware. We can add more here. But right now let's put only one middleware, and that is middleware is equal to thunk. So I call this thunk here. Now I will export this store so that I can use it in other places. So just put this configuration in the store.js. Let me know when it's done. Okay, let's move further now. Now we will write down something in the reducer, constant, and action. Before writing an action and constant, I'll only just create a dummy structure and reducer before we write further code. So let's write down first the dummy structure, and then we will write more in detail in some time. So here, yeah, so however I call this thunk, it should be like that. Okay, so it has to be called like this. Okay, let's write down the dummy structure for our reducer, and then we'll move further. So here I will first create the initial state. So whatever variable I want in the beginning of my application, I will put it here. For example, I will put name. I can add anything here, whatever variable I want, key value pair. So this is my initial object, which I wanted to have with some default value, whatever I want to be in my reducer. Then I will create one object. Again, there will be object, and I will tell you the purpose of this object, right? So let's write down here initial state values. Okay, this object with key value pair, and usage I will tell you in a minute. Then I will create one variable called as size reducer. which will take two parameters, which is a function. It has two parameters. One is called a state and another is called the action. And I have to return the state. So ultimately, I have to return the state from here. So whatever state will be there, initially there will be some state. I will manipulate the state here in this function, and then I will return the state here. Okay, so now how to manipulate the state? I will pass some type here in the action. So the action may have, so action can be object. Object will be with type, for example, type ABC, and it has some payload. Payload can be object or string or number, anything. So this action can have type and payload. Based on the type, I will call this object. For example, my object has ABC and it is a function with the state and action. Okay, and based on, since the ABC is there, for example, object is ABC, I will explain you in bit more different way. I'm just writing it and then I'll explain it kind of thing. So here, for example, if I pass the type ABC, then I will access this function, and here I will pass the new state. I will return the new state, and the new state will be like dot 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 state. That is the previous state, and I will say name. This name will have the value of action dot payload. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm calling ABC function with the state and action. I take the previous state and I update the name of the previous state with the action dot payload. This action dot payload will come from here. So don't worry about this. We will work on. I'm just writing the basic structure and I will explain you in detail in few minutes. Okay. Right now, don't worry. Now here I will check if object of ABC exists. So I will write object of action dot type, because this ABC will come as action dot type. So I'll check if object of ABC exists, then I will return object of type and I will call this with the state and action. Okay, so don't worry about much about this one. I explain in detail in the React class, but right now I'm just writing the structure and then I will tell you what it does kind of thing. And if you also don't remember, when we use this, you will understand what we are trying to do. Okay, so let's write down some more variables so that you can understand it in a better way. Let's say if I put age equal to 0 right now. So I created initial with name and age. I will put two things, because when I will explain something in detail, I will show you how to use both the things. That's the reason I put two variables. Don't worry about this syntax kind of thing. We'll go through it again in a minute, because I want to just create a basic structure. That's why I'm creating this, and I will explain that when we do little project in this one. Let's do export default size reducer. And I need this site reducer for this store to work, because store is calling root reducer is calling site reducer. So we need some basic structure in the site reducer so that I can complete my basic things for the Redux. Okay, let's use this site reducer. Okay, so just copy this one in site reducer. No need to think too much on this now. Once we complete that structure again, we will come back this again. So just put whatever this I gave you in this Telegram chat. We'll come back again in some time. Let me know when you're done with this one. Okay, now since we have completed this part, let's try to integrate this Redux in our app.js. I'll go to app.js and then in the app.js I will call the home.js. This is the home.js. Okay, let's call the home.js here in the, and I will call this home.js here. I don't need style sheet for our app. I don't need anything. This one from. So I just called home.js in the app. Now we need to integrate the Redux here in our app. So to integrate Redux, I will import something from React Redux. And that is nothing but a provider. So I will import provider from React Redux, and then I will import the store which we just now wrote from the source Redux store folder, and I will import these two things. Now I will wrap this home with the provider. So I will write down provider. Provider needs one parameter called as store, which is nothing but the store, this store. And I will wrap this provider around the home page. So once we wrap this provider around the home page, now we can use Redux in all our components inside the home page. So our app will be like this, and then we will put all our code of Redux inside the home. So just replace your app.js with this code. I'm giving you in this Telegram. So now our basic structure is over after this line. Now we will take use of the Redux and we will show you how the Redux work. And as I move further, I will update the action and constants also. So whatever I do in the class, it is already merged into the develop. If it is not merged in the 7th, it might merge in the 8th one. So don't worry about this. Everything is committed and merged. If it is not 7th, it may have done it on the 8th or next class. I don't remember the next class, but everything is merged into the main. Okay, let me know when it is done. Okay, so now we will take use of the home and we will try to understand the reducer also one more time as we move along. Okay, so this thing is little complicated and I want you to do along with me so that you can do in better way. So this is my view. I will create some style sheet, for example container. Okay, and I will create some more style sheet text. I will update this style sheet soon. Then maybe input. Okay, I'll put this here. So what I'll do, I'll create here some sample application where I will take use of the Redux. But before I write anything, I will run this and see if I'm getting any error or everything is running fine. So I'll say export start. So before I write anything, I want to see if everything is okay or we have some errors which I need to fix. Okay, let me run this one. Okay, I'm getting one error. Let's see how to fix that one. Okay, I'm getting this error. Each modular provided to configure must be a function. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, let's see. So in the site reducer, I will put some default value to the state. When I create the site reducer, and default value nothing but the initial state. So let's put here initial state, and let's put action as a default as an object, and see what we are getting. Okay, let's try to remove this one and see what's happening. I'm still getting the same error. Where is the visor? Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm getting home here, but when I'm putting the thunk, it's not working. 1 second. Yeah, if I'm putting thunk part, it's uh, it's giving me error. Maybe let's see what's the problem with this. Okay. Yeah, it's not React Redux. It is Redux thunk. Sorry, by mistake I put Redux thunk. Okay. So let's try again. So just change this thunk from Redux thunk, not the React Redux. So it was just put it quickly. So now, if you see, now I'm getting this home at the top. Okay, so since it is touching the status bar, I will give some margin in my home. So let's go to home.js. I will put margin top, some 30 pixels, and then I will give this style equal to styles.container. Okay, so that way home is going now down. I will also give border width of 10, and I will say flex of 1. So it takes the whole screen. Okay, so now do these changes in the site reducer. We'll pass the initial state here and the action here. Do this change. And another thing which we did changes in the store, we passed the Redux thunk, not the React Redux. And then everything looks good. Let me know if you done with those two changes. So now what we will do, if you're done with those changes, I will put some text boxes here, and I will try to update the Redux to see what's happening in the Redux. Okay. So first will be, this is the home. I will give some styling. And here I will create multiple text boxes to update. So I'll I'll call the text input, and I will use the text input here. Text input style equal to styles dot input, and then I will put placeholder name, and I'll put the value. I'll put some value called as input 1. I will create this variable input 1. Let's create a variable input 1. Now I will ask you the question. Be ready for that one, because this is little difficult. Input is 1, and on change text. Here it is on change text. If you go to React World, it is on change. On change, I will get an arrow function. In the arrow function, I will get some value, and I want to update the value of this input. So what I will do, I will call the set input 1, and I will pass the value. So to update the set input 1, to update the value of input 1, I will call the set input 1 with the value in it. So I created the text box. And whenever something I will type it, it will change the value of this input 1. Let's try to experiment this one. Let me explain you this one more time, so that I will give some styling so that I can show the text input clearly. So let's give the border bottom width of 2 pixel, and I'll give some padding of 10, or maybe I'll not give bottom, I'll give the whole. Okay, so this is my name. I can type anything in the name. Let's put padding here. Okay. So now what I am trying to do, let me explain you this thing. And I created one text input. I put some variable, state variable as input 1, and whenever user try to type something, I update this input 1 by calling state input 1. And when I try to type something, you will see input 1 is changed with df, 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 df. So just put this one, and then we'll go further. So what I am trying to do, I am trying to create one text box where I will put name, and I will create another text box where I will put age, and I will create one submit button. When I call the submit button, the values of the in text box 1 and text box 2 will be updated in my reducer. That's the aim of this project. So we have to create two text box. When I call the first text box, when I type something in the first text box, right now it's only updating the state variable, but I will create one button also. When I click that button, it will update the value in the reducer. So just create this text box, and I will create another one in a minute. Okay, so let's try to go further and create another text to input. So I'll copy this text input, paste it again, and I will create another state variable, and I will change this to input age. Okay, and here will be in set input age. I will change the first one as set input name and set input name. Let's change this to this one. So it will be set input name, and I will also create another one as input age. So my first text box will update the name, and my second text box will update the age. Okay, so one will update the name, one will update the age. So let's try to do the same thing. I will change the name and I will change the age. So you will see input name is saying this one and input age is saying 12. So I'm just changing the two variables and two input box. I could have created one variable also, but that's not the purpose of this exercise. We have to create two variables here, and one for this one and one for this one. Now try to understand. I will create a button. When I click the button, so I'll click the button. In the first button, I will say update name, and I will say on press. I'll write an arrow function. So this is my first button, update name. Let's put it at the top. And there will be another one, update age. So when we type something, it will directly update the variable, state variable, whatever we have in the state variable, this one. But when we click the update name, we should update this value in the Redux. That is the aim of this exercise. Okay, right now what I'm doing, I'm just changing the state value here and here. But when I click the update name or update age, it should update the value in the reducer. Right now reducer has the name of empty and age of 0. But as soon as user will type this button, we will change the value in the reducer. Is that clear what I'm telling you? And try to understand this clearly, because this will be used in all our project. So now let me tell you what happens. So this is the text box. When I click the button update, we have to call one function. We will write this function, and we have to call this function using the dispatch. There is a dispatch method in the Redux. We have to call this function using the dispatch. That means we are dispatching this function. And in this function, we have to write dispatch. And in the dispatch, we have to pass some object. What is the object which we have to pass? We have to pass the type. What type you want to update? For example, I will say type is name. I want to update the name. And what value you want to update? I will say payload. And that second value will be the payload. And whatever user will type in this text box, I will pass this as a payload. And once I dispatch this, it will go to reducer and it will check this type if we have this type in the reducer. If we have this type name in the reducer, then it will take this payload and it will update the variable in the reducer. Okay, so let's try to understand it more clearly. Let's say this is the site action. I will create one function called as, maybe I'll name it as set name. Okay, we are setting the name. It will be a simple function. and I will pass some name inside it. This is the new name value which I want to update in the reducer. So I create a set name, and here I will write down the return function. We have to call the return function, and this return function will take the dispatch. And here I will do a lot of calculation, maybe Ajax call, maybe some more calculations, maybe storing to DB, something like that. I will do some calculation, and in the end I will dispatch. And in this dispatch I have to call an object with some type. For example, I will say set name. You can give any name, whatever name you want to give, and you have to pass a payload. What payload you want to pass? I want to update the name with this name. So when I call this function, it will set with the type set name, and payload will be the name which I will pass it here. Now this set name, the value, the set name, it will check in the reducer whether set name is there or not. Right now we have ABC, we will change it to set name. So it will check if set name is there. Yes, set name is there, then it will update this name with whatever payload we have sent it. And what payload we are sending it? We are sending the payload with the name which user has updated in the text box. So user update the name in the text box, which we will pass it here. It will go here as this payload, and it will check the set name in the reducer. Whether set name is there, yes, that is there, then it will update this name with whatever payload we are sending it. So now we will create one more with the set age. So if we want to update the age, I will create a key value pair as age. So here we'll change it age to action.payload. So whatever payload will come, I will update it as a age. Now in the site action, I will create another function. Here I will say set age, and I will pass some age, and this age will go here as a payload. And instead of set name, here I will say set age. So in our actions, we will create functions like this, where in the end we will dispatch something with the type and payload. Type will be something which we want to use it in the reducer, and each type which we create in the action should have the same type here in the reducer. So let's say if I want to update the name, I will pass a payload with whatever user has put in the text box, and it will go to the reducer, and it will check the set name, and set name is matching with this set name. So it will update the name of this initial state. Okay, and when I call the set age, it will call the dispatch with the set age and payload of age. Then it will go to reducer and check whether set age is there. Yes, set age is there, and then it will update the age of this initial state. What will happen if I create another third function called as set address, and I call the set address here with some address. Right now, let's say some address. But set address is not in the reducer. What will happen at that time? Can anyone tell me what will happen now? Now set address is not here. We have only set age and set name. In the action, we are passing some dispatch with the set address and some payload. What will happen? What will not work? Will it give error, or it will do nothing, or what will happen? It will do nothing. That is correct, because it will, once we pass the set address, it will try to find the set address is there. If it is not there, it will just return the state. It will not go inside the if condition, and this will not happen. So it will not do nothing. So that is the correct answer. It will do nothing. What will happen if I delete this age here in the initial state, but here I call the set age and with the payload age? What will happen in this case? If I delete the age here, but I am calling the set age, what will happen? Is it will give error, or what? It will do nothing, or what will happen? Okay, it will not give error. It age will be added in the state. So when you, after you call the set age, and when you check the state value, age will be added with whatever value we are passing it. So if we delete this age, nothing, age will be added. Okay. Now, what is the procedure now? What is the procedure from the home? I will call either set name or set age to update the reducer with the name or age. So what we will do, first we will try to use the set name and see whether set name is updated, and then we'll call the set age. Okay, so we'll do the both the things. So this set name and age is only called when we click the button. Okay, only at that time I want reducer to be updated. If I want reducer to be updated immediately, every time when user changes it, then we can call this set name in this on change text. So let's try to experiment both the things, whether we will first put in on change text, and we will also put another case, we will put in the button. So if I put it on the on change text, whenever user types something, it will update in reducer also. But if I put only the button and call this set name, then reducer will be updated when I click the button. So to call this function, first let's import this function here in this home. Import from Redux site section. So from the site section, I will call the set name and set age. I will import both the functions in my home. Also I have to import few things from the React Redux. What things we have to import from React Redux is right now we have to use only dispatch, use dispatch, but there are other things also which we need to call that will come later. So since we have to dispatch this function, I will call the use dispatch from the React Redux, and I will create a variable called as constant dispatch is equal to use dispatch as a function. So whatever use dispatch I call it here, I put it in this variable. So before I call the set name and set age, just try to complete the site action. I will give you in the Telegram chat, and also update the site reducer as I did it. So once you are done with this, let me know, and then we'll go to the home page. In the home page, we will call the dispatch. Now, how to call the dispatch, I'll let you know once you complete this thing. So remember, when we create the set name and set age, it does not call the dispatch directly. It does a lot of calculations here. Like if you are using the parse server, it will add data in the parse server. Or if we want to query the from the parse server, it will get data from server. So a lot of things happen in this place, and then we dispatch it to update the reducer. Okay, right now I created simple functions because I don't want to put any more complexity in these functions. But when we work in future, we will add a lot of complexities. Okay, let's go now further in home page to dispatch this one. So what I have to do, whenever I want to call this function, I will use it with the dispatch. Let's call this dispatch on the click of the button first. So here I will say dispatch. What I want to dispatch, this function, the set name. And in the set name, I have to pass some name, because set name is expecting some name. So name will be nothing but this input name. So I will pass this set name with input name. So whenever I pass this dispatch set name input name, it will call the set name function. Here it will dispatch with the set name. Then it will go to reducer. It will find the set name, and it will update the value of the state here. Okay, that's what is going to happen. Let's try to see that. Okay, let's try to see that one. Okay, so I'll put some name. When I click update name, so on the screen nothing happens, and in the console also nothing happens, and we don't know whether it's really updated or not. So to check whether it's updated in the reducer, we will try to call this state variable from the reducer and see whether it is updated or not. Okay, so to call it, before I call it, just call this one in your button in the home page. Call this dispatch set name with input name, and then I'll show you how to see. So just put this line, and then let me show you how to see what is value. In the React, when I was doing in the browser, I installed one library called as Redux logger, and I was able to see that there. Okay, but that is one way. Here we can console it and we can check it here also. So to see whether what's happening, we will call two more functions here in the React Redux. One of them is use selector, and another one is shallow equal. So I will call these two in the React Redux, and then what I will do, I will create one function called as getState. This will tell me what is the value in the state is there, and in the getState I will get the value of the state, and here I will do console.log state is state, and I will return something. So what I will return, I will update in a minute, but before that I want to see what is coming in the state. So once I create this get state, I will call this get state using these two functions. So how to call it? I will call the constant. Let's put right now the object, because we don't know what the things are coming, and I will use the use selector, and in the use selector I will call the function get state, and another parameter I will call is shallow equal. So in the first parameter we will call our function name, that is the get state, and in the second parameter we call the shallow equal, and we will put in object. Let's also console this object. Right now, since we are returning empty object, this object will be nothing but the empty object, but we will be able to see the state, and then we will pass appropriate value in the return statement so that we can take use of that one. Okay, now let's see what happens in the state as soon as we update we click the button. me restart. I will put name. So right now you see the object is empty and state is not coming because state is not updated. But as soon as I click the update name, you will see the changes. When I click the update name, let's try to put something here also so that we can see it's coming here. In action, name is name. So this name I'm putting it here. I will also put console in the reducer too so that you can see we are here in reducer. Action is, here we'll check the action. Okay, so when I click the update name, you will see changes in the home page, changes in the action. It comes here, then it will come here, and then once the state is updated, it will come here in this one, and you will see this state. But this object will be still empty because we are just passing the empty object. Let's put something now. And as soon as I click, I'm restarting. As soon as I click update, you will see changes here as I showed you. Right now, you will see the state is coming as, the state is coming as age 0 and name empty because that is the default value which we have here. Now, as soon as I put name here, nothing happens to the state. I click the button. Once I click the button, you will see it goes in the action and the name is Manish. So it goes into the action and name is Manish. Then it goes to the reducer. Action is payload is Manish, type is set name. We are passing the set name and payload as Manish. So it goes to the reducer. In the reducer, action is payload is Manish and type is set name. Once it is called, the state is updated with the whatever payload we pass, that is the Manish. And in the state, you will see we are getting sites reducer. If we have multiple reducer, you will see all the reducer here. And in the site reducer, we have age, which is 0 still, and the name is the Manish, whatever we get it from reducer. So initially name was empty, but after this procedure, we get name as Manish. Since we get name Manish, I will pass this Manish name here. I will say name equal to state dot sites reducer dot name. So the object will be now I'm passing this here. This is nothing but this object. Now this object is nothing but what we pass here, and it is name Manish. Is that clear? What I showed you, the whole process. When I type something in the text input, it only updates the state variable. When I click the button, then I dispatch the set name, which will go to action, and from action it will go to reducer. And once reducer is updated, we see the updated value in the state, and that we pass it here in the object. So object is now showing name as Manish. Is that clear? Any questions on this one? Object is nothing but whatever we return it here. And it has the value of the state, whatever current state has. So object, this object is nothing but what we return here, and it gets the name from the reducer, and whatever name will be there in the reducer, we get there, and we can show it here. I can change this to anything, maybe first name. Though in the reducer it is name, but here I am calling the first name. So object is now first name. So this object is customized, whatever you want to use it name. So this name is your custom name. You can keep the same name or you can change the name. And then you can use this object.name somewhere here. I will say object.name. So you will see object.name is coming here. Okay, so when I type something, I update the name, it will update in the reducer, and now you will see the updated name here. So this object is created custom by our agents, because state will have site reducer, it may have other many reducers. We don't want to pass everything here. We only want to pass whatever we need in this page. In this page we need age and name. So I will pass only two things, age and name. So now object will be age and name. Since we didn't updated age, so it is coming with the default value of 0, and name is coming as whatever we updated it. Okay, so what's happening? We have text box, we update the local variable, state variable, and when we click the button, it goes to the action. In the action, it dispatches the object as state name and payload, which goes here in the reducer and update it here. And this will update the state, and this state, new state will come here, and we get updated value in the object, and we can display the new value here. We can also display here for the age. Okay, now let's set update the age. Okay, same thing we'll do like we are doing here. We'll update the age, but here we'll call the set age, and we'll call the set input age. So now if we change the age of this to 21 and update age, it will update in the reducer, and here we see the value from the reducer. So this 21 and this one, mango 3 is coming from the reducer, and if we change here input value, it's only locally. It's only locally unless I click the button. Once I click the button, it will update the reducer, and then we will see updated value here. Okay. So we are seeing the updated value here only when we click the button. Though we could have also put it here inside this on change, then you will see the updated value immediately. One second. Let's say if I put 45. Okay, so if I put it here, you will see 5 is updated here. Okay, so sometimes there is time difference kind of thing. It goes the previous one, so you see only the 4, 8, and 5 still not updated in the reducer. So better is you have to do something on purpose. Whenever you click something, you can do it. Okay, so though this will also work, but we have to put the wall in it to update it immediately. Since we put the input age here, so input age is not updated. Input age is not updated unless we call this one, and then it is a time difference. So if we want to update immediately in the reducer, we have to use the wall, and now it will do immediately. For example, I'll show you 56. Now it is updating immediately to the reducer also. But if I put input age is not updated, immediately. It takes time. It's kind of AJAX call, so you don't see immediately changes in the reducer. But now since I'm calling wall, it is immediate. Sorry. Now same thing will happen here. I will also pass it here, so then it will be the immediate change in the reducer. So it's an immediate change in the reducer. So generally we don't call this immediately in the reducer, but if circumstances happen, we can call that also. If we need, we can call. So this is how we update the reducer. Okay, let me give you this one so you can type it and use it. And now I'll go back to reducer to explain reducer again. So what will happen as soon as user will call this dispatch actually goes to this function with the state will be the initial state which we have or the updated state which we have, and the action. Action has two things. One is type and payload. Based on the type, we check if we have the key value pair here. So for example, our type is set name, then it will check in the object whether we have set name there. If we have set name there, then we will call this function, we initialize this function like here. But if we don't have the set name here, then we just return the state. And once we go to this function, we update the state with whatever payload we get from the action. So this is the short summary of what's happening in the site reducer. Maybe you can go through this or the previous lecture when I did the React one to understand more clearly about the reducer. So the more variables will come, we have to add more and more key value pairs. For example, tomorrow address comes, so we have to put address also here. So as soon as we get more key and value pair to update in our state, we can add more key value pair here in the object to do more stuff. So this is all about Redux. In the home page, I showed the example how to dispatch the function, how to retrieve the object from the state, and then how to use that object in this home page. Any questions on the reducer? This is something which we will be using in all our projects. So if you don't understand, if you have questions, you can ask now. Because once we start working in the Redux or any project, every project will have Redux in it. Because of state management. And right now here we have only two variables. But if we go with the real app or real website, there will be hundreds of variables. Okay, any questions on this one? So in the next class, we will go with the pass server, and then we will build something login and registration page after we are done with the pass server. Pass server on the server side, we have already done in the React one. I shared the video yesterday. We will only do on the React native side, on the mobile side, how to integrate the pass server. Okay, I think no one has question. So we created a lot of these projects also. We'll be starting the project soon here, and I will assign some tasks to each project. For example, we will be doing the login and registration soon after the pass server. So we need to integrate the login and registration in all of the projects, because the login and registration will be in all the projects. So we will be putting that part in all the projects, and so I will assign someone to put login and registration in the car messaging, in free food. So one person will do in this one will do here. So everyone will work in different project. I will assign the task to you, those who are live here in this class. If you're not live, you will not get the project. So the pass server, you have to put in the Node.js. In the Node.js, create the pass server, my pass server, and put all whatever I put in the video, just put in the pass server. And this pass server, you have to upload it in your some dedicated hosting. And if you don't have dedicated hosting, you can use my temporary pass server for your React Native project, but don't make it public, because that is only for learning purpose. Okay, so I will give you my URL tomorrow, or not tomorrow, in the next class, to use the pass server. For your learning purpose, you can use it. And if you want to go live with your real project, then you have to buy your own dedicated server. Okay, so that's all for today.